weekend racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
This is The Magic Mike Show, one of the last ones before the end of the year. Mr. Stomach, how are you today?
It's amazing, man. You look down and it's December 14th. I'm like, where the heck did this month go? It's been amazing how fast this has gone by. But yeah, looking forward to getting it going, man. This is kind of the doldrums. We've got Gulfstream Park going, and now we're really into full swing there after this weekend and then the champions meet. We get obviously your home track, Santa Anita, back shortly, and then it's we roll into the new year and get to see some 2-year-olds.
Yeah, it's exciting. The 2-year-olds turning 3 is going to be huge. That I was looking at fairgrounds in Remington Park already have their weekend fields out, which is already amazing. Thank you to those tracks. But there's a lot of 2-year-olds at those two tracks that even at Remington, I was like, this could be interesting. Remington, not so much as far as who we want to draft in the fantasy league, but fairgrounds has got some interesting ones. Gulfstream Park had a couple that might go in the early rounds of the fantasy league draft this past Saturday. So this is what I'm starting to feel the juices flowing a little bit. I spent most of Sunday, at least it was horse racing related, trying to target and do some deep dive research. I blew up your phone because every time I found a horse, I was like, oh, look at this one from back in October, blah, 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 and it's related to this horse. And so I apologize to you. But also I don't, because you would blow up my phone every Friday when I was doing my other job for Sam Houston. So fair trade.
Oh, don't worry. That'll happen again shortly. We're like T-minus 30 days or something until Sam Houston goes off the chain again. So we're looking forward to that. They announced that they're going to have their carryover first night of the Space 6. Hopefully we do a mandatory opening night, which would be an awesome way to get it going. They haven't announced that yet, but put some pressure on them, people. Hit up Sam Houston. Tell them to go mandatory first night. And ironically, we didn't even talk about this. The best thing I saw, I'm going to use the 7th race at Gulfstream, which actually was right before we started our pick 4 sequence, specifically because it's the official kickoff of when we're going to start seeing good 2-year-old debuts. I think that was the race that kind of started this whole process off. I was texting you about a horse that didn't run a step, Alexander Valley, out of the Bill Mott bar for the Go Dolphins barn. And they were it was a $2.1 million sale horse, clearly a horse that Godolphin wants to point toward the Derby. It didn't run great. And it was an interesting lesson because I texted you, the board told you this horse wasn't going to run a step. We have a $2.1 million horse that's morning line 6-1 and floats up. That's not a good sign. Word is supposed to be out on that horse. That horse is supposed to go off at 6-5, not 7-8-1. But you also saw American Law, who I think is an interesting horse and one that I put in my stable and will probably use moving forward out of the Danny Gargan barn. Irad rode this horse. The horse didn't break very well. It was toward the back of the pack. Made a move around the turn, but a horse named Donegal Bay from Donegal Racing Stables, one of our classic Magic Mike angles. If the name is in the horse, then it's probably pretty good. Ended up airing that field as the favorite. But that race to me was the official starting point of seeing Derby contenders coming out now from some of the main barns. I think we're going to start seeing some from the Baffert barn when Santa Anita returns on the 26th. I think you're going to start seeing some at Fairgrounds now. I think, even Remington, you might start seeing some of those that end up at Oaklawn. So I think we officially are going to see those late 2-year-old season, early 3-year-old season debuts that will be relevant in the draft and in the 3-year-old class next year, which is already decent. I think we got a pretty good 3-year-old class going into next year before the debuts. And I don't think we've seen any of the top. I bet we've only seen 20% of the top 10 horses that we're going to see by Derby time.
I think that's fair. Yeah, you still have time to get them going at Gulfstream, get them going at Santa Anita. I think, especially COVID, people realize, listen, if you take your time, these last few years with the Derby horses, just take your time with them and then just train them to fire their biggest race in the Derby. You saw what happened with Justified. Took his time, bam, 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 and then he disappears pretty quick. It's interesting that you said Donegal Bay was the start and not race 2, because that was the one at Gulfstream Park that had a lot of people talking. That was Prime Factor winning. It was a 6-furlong race, and with the way that he won it and the way that he finished, you're like, I texted Aaron and I said, well, that makes you think that Donegal Bay's got a pretty damn good chance in the 7th. And American Law was my play in that race. I cannot believe that Irad just found so many ways to lose. I thought that was the best horse in the race, and it drove me nuts watching him just drive him straight into the rail and up horses' asses until the middle of the stretch. But he did get it done on Prime Factor. That was a 6 furlong race. So I thought it was interesting. I was like, well, if this horse ran like this, it's an almost $900,000 Son of Quality Road. Windstar China Horse Club are in on. It's Pletcher. I was like, why is he in this 6 furlong race? Donegal Bay, he must do something. Well, son of a bitch, he went off and did it. Those are interesting. However, did you know the highest buyer speed figure from any juvenile all weekend did not come from either of those two horses?
No, it came from a turf course, right?
No, it came from Moonlight Dioro.
Over what course?
Los Al.
Yeah, turf course. Like I said, I was right.
Yeah,
in that Gulfstream race, the second race, just to like further illustrate your point, we had a $250,000 or $280,000 horse, a $160,000 horse, a $900,000 horse, a $250,000 horse, a $500,000 horse, all in that one race. All of a sudden, you're seeing the big auction horses come out. I think that'll be a consistent trend. All right, now gush about your horse that won at Los Al.
Moonlight Dioro, she won. I was so happy. And here's how. Usually, I'm extremely nervous when I watch any of my horses run, and I almost never bet them because the anxiety alone of just my horse running is bad enough. If I've got even $2 on the line, I'm like,
the $10 doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the long run.
Right. So she was facing Frosteria. It was a Bob Baffert horse that I frosted, that they were taking the blinkers off, and they're both stretching out to a mile. They were within a neck of each other in their last race. And man, that I tell you, Mike, that as soon as they took out of the gate, all that anxiety just kind of washed away. And I just literally laid back on the couch, and Mrs. Magic was next to me. And when I saw that Pratt had her sitting right outside Frosteria on the backstretch, I was like, she's perfect. That is the perfect spot. Her first 2 starts, she's been the best horse and had terrible inside trips. She's outside. She's in the clear. And I said, Frosteria started moving. Pratt stayed right with her. I said, there you go. Just keep going. Stay with her. Stay with her. Off the turn. I mean, that Los Al stretch is forever, so you really have to wait to time your move as a jockey. But she drew off. She wins by 3 lengths. It's an 87 buyer speed figure. It was nice to see her win. It was really nice that she beat a very well-regarded Baffert horse. So whenever you can beat a Baffert horse, it always makes you feel that much better. But she's clearly was meant to be a dirt router. Mandela had said all along she's going to be a dirt router. Well, now you see why. So the dirt turf, depending on which way Mr. Samich feels. But yeah, she's going to head off to. She's got to be headed off to a Santa Anita Stakes. I'm trying to think what the first one is of the next year. Is it Santa? I'll look it up. But whatever the first big Derby prep or Oaks prep, I'm sorry, will be at Santa Anita in January, March. That's where she's going to end up. So January, February. I skipped a month there.
She looked good, and it's fun. I tried to bet Los Alamitos again this weekend. I'm notoriously bad at Los Alamitos. It's kind of to me like the combination of Fawner Park meets Kentucky Downs, with a little bit of Belmont sprinkled in, because the Belmont aspect, because the jockeys have no clue how to ride it. The Fawner Park aspect, because the turns are tighter. And so you just see like pinball, and some horses cut horses off on the inside. Some are pushing some outside. They're a freaking mess. And Kentucky Downs, because there's like 4 cameras down the front to the stretch. So you have no idea when the actual finish line is. And the combination of all of that mess, it's not great for my betting. I cannot figure that place out. I can't do it. And I'm probably going to end up playing it, because now we have a pick 6 carryover in the traditional $2 pick 6, which is pretty hefty. And I think it's Thursday is the next racing day. And it's up to, what I want to say, like 70,000 now, something like that. Pretty
damn high. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's 145,000, December 17th. So it's a nice pool that's going to be created there. And with that $2 minimum and just the wackiness that comes from that racetrack, it means that it's definitely worth throwing. I'm not going to play my normal $2 Del Mar pick 6 numbers. I'm probably going to play like a $56 ticket and hope I'm right on like 3 singles, but it's worth getting involved because of the carryover in this spot.
Well, plus the pool size. I'm with you. I stopped betting Los Al over a year ago. When was the last time we tried doing Los Al on the show? That's the last time I tried betting. It's such a wacky, it's lots of low level claimers, which I'm the first to admit I'm not good at those. I usually either go really chalk or really heavy price and guess wrong which one's going to end up winning that day. But you know who has figured out Los Al pretty good? It's going to be the best thing that I saw. Jessica Pfeiffer. I keep bringing her up on this show. She had 3 wins on Saturday's card. at Los Al. Did you know she is tied for second in the jockey standings going into this is the final weekend coming up at Los Al for their meet. She has 7 wins. She's tied with Abel Cedillo, good name to be tied with 7. Juan Hernandez leads with 8, and Jessica Pfeiffer still getting that 7-pound bug allowance. She's going to get a lot of mounts in these lower level races that Cedillo, Hernandez, they're big name riders. They don't need to ride the $5,000, non-winners of 1 lifetime or 2 lifetime at Los Al. So Jessica's going to keep getting mounts. She's got a really decent chance to win the riding title as a bug in her first time racing at Los Al. That's pretty effing cool. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's darn good. And on both the trainer and the jockey is just wide open. I think like last I saw, like there were 5 trainers tied with 3 or tied with 2 or something crazy like that up toward the top. I know Jonathan Wong and Tamayo were both doing well from up north, coming down south. And Baffert was not in the lead last I saw as well. He's usually done pretty well at that track, but that low level kind of makes it hard for him to win a claim or a training title there.
That's a big part of it. He usually takes the money title because he'll win the Starlet, he'll win the Futurity. He doesn't need to do anymore. That's like 80% of the whole purse money for the meet at Los Al. But I found out too that that's Steve Miotti. That's I thought you were talking about Isidro Tamayo, because you almost combined the 2 names there.
Tamayo has 3. He's tied for second with Jonathan Wong. Miotti has 4. He's in the lead. And then there's a plethora: Mulholland, Miller, Lerner, Moger, Baltus, Knapp, all with 2. Same with Palma. It's a mess. And like our commentator Stephanie said, it's I don't want to say it's unbettable, because I don't want to discredit a Southern California track. I personally don't bet it, and I know some people are really good at it, and more power to you. Mike Samich is pretty good about Gulfstream Park, and that's where we're going to be turning our attention today to talk about what we learned. We're going to look at our Saturday late pick 4 tickets. I will say it's nice if you're going to lose a leg in the pick 4, lose the first one and just it's stress-free, the final 3 legs. I lost the first one. I was like, I'm good. I'm out. So we got that to talk about. That's pretty much it. So later show, if you're watching us live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, thanks for joining us. Give us a like, give us a heart, thumbs up, whatever it takes. It'll help the algorithm, put us into more people's eyes, and we can keep giving you guys bigger and better shows. Mr. Samich, you ready to talk about some Gulfstream? Yeah, let's do it, man. I love me some Gulfstream.
Well, with that, riders up. How'd you like that segue?
That was great.
That was 2 good. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for 2 good segues. One to do who's good at Los Al.
I think he's a host or something.
Don't as far as I pulled up the wrong thing here. As far as the LA Times, for a lot of reasons, isn't that readable these days. So as far as them in Santa Anita, in Los Al, it's just all bullshit. So just ignore them. I met the guy that covers horse racing for the LA Times, and him in person versus the guy that is like writing, they don't line up. Like if you met me, you're like, oh, he loves horse racing. He's very positive about it. If I was sitting here just writing, they need to shut down every track and blah, blah. That's kind of what that guy's like. So they're a little doomsday at the LA Times because they're dying. So just ignore them. Also, if you're watching, I will be revealing which Breeders' Cup hat I got. So if you guys have any, there's about 40, 50 of you watching. So if you got any final guesses, this is what this is, and you guess it correctly, you get 1 guess. I'll send you a prize. But you get 1 guess. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
I forgot for a moment that we were just sitting here spitballing until Magic decided to talk. The co-host. 3, 2. All right, Mike. First thing we're going to look at is race 8 on Gulfstream Park Saturday card. This was the $75,000 My Charmer Stakes, Fillies and Mares 3 and up, going to Mount 16th on the turf course. I went 4 deep with the ticket that I gave out on the show. Medita was a horse that we both really were excited about. She ended up scratching, and I put in a different horse, and I put in the wrong one because the number 1 horse, Nico's Dream, carrying the colors of Tis the Law, Saratoga Stable, pulls off a really nice upset in that race. She was basically ignored on the board. I looked at her, Mike, and the reason I didn't use her is because I thought that she had plateaued to about a mid-80s buyer and that she would need to be right around 90 or better to beat this group. Well, I was right about that. She gets an 89. She pulls off the win. I didn't use her, but you actually did use her in the show, I believe, right? Talk about Nico's Dream a little bit here.
So I didn't use her on the show. And when the 6 scratched, I put in the 1 and the 4. And we talked about the 1 and the 4 on the show, and I considered them almost to be a tag team type effort, where I didn't think you could include one and not include the other. They faced each other 2 back. Just the 4 beat the 1 by about a half length. I really liked the race the last time out, and that's why I ended up using this horse. That 8-1, it went off at around 9-1, but War Canoe was the horse that ran second in that race. Nico's Dream just missed to War Canoe, who came back and won at Gulfstream Park. I just felt like this was a good spot for this horse. And if I'm going to include the 4, and I was down to like, okay, I had the 1, 2, and the 4. Those were the 3 horses that I was debating which way to go. I ended up going with the 1 and the 4 because I wanted that New York turf form, which is something we've consistently talked about on the show, is that New York form down to Gulfstream is something that you want to have. That held up again later in the show. But the New York form, and specifically that race against War Canoe, was the reason why I ended up using Nico's Dream here. And getting off to a nice start here. I mean, it's never bad to start with a $30 winner in a pick 4. Unfortunately, we missed the feature leg, which we'll dive into. And I have some pretty good red boarding about how I should have gotten to that Horace Sargent, and I didn't. So I'm a little frustrated that we didn't get to that winner. But this one was a nice one to get to Nico's Dream. And this is one of those examples where I almost kicked myself for not playing this exacta. A lot of times when you do have 2 horses that you like and they've run together in the past, it's likely they're going to run together again since they're right around the same skill level. You box these 2 up, and the exacta paid for $2 returns over $150 in this spot. It's a heck of a payout for this race, specifically because you get Lady Lawyer to run out. This is one of those interesting spots to me, too, because, I mean, personally, I like Lady Lawyer on top. But, man, at 3-2? That's tough to swallow. And I've mentioned on Twitter, the reason I'm including the 1 and the 4 is I love this 14-1 price we're getting on the 1. And it was 17-1, specifically when I tweeted out about it before the race went off. And you know, that to me, that this was a price determinant decision on what horses end up on the ticket, because the value on the 1 and the 4 was way too high with how hard the 5 got bet.
Yeah, 5 was hammered. I mean, it's a Chad Brown horse going into a non-graded stakes race, coming off of a win at Keeneland, which the Keeneland had a lot of. This was during the Breeders' Cup build-up, so you plenty of talented horses, despite it being a non-winners of 3 other than at Keeneland. With Tyler Gaffleone, who was aboard that day, there were a lot of reasons to like Lady Lawyer here. You didn't even use her in your ticket, at least that you had on the show. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong numbers. Forgive me. I have this problem. I talked to Aaron about this, where I get the morning line and the post numbers switched a lot in my brain. Do you ever do that?
I do that every now and then, yeah.
Okay. So I looked at this and I saw 2-1 morning line and thought she was the 2 horse. And I was like, well, I know I used the 2 and you didn't. So is there any reason why Lady Lawyer just completely fell apart? Should we look at the fact that the one time she did try a graded stakes, a grade 3 race, it was a sprint, but she, was 4th, pretty well beaten 4th. Were there signs here to tell us that Lady Lawyer was not going to be good enough in this spot?
Yes and no. I mean, look, I liked her at 2-1. I didn't like her at 3-2 or 6-5, which was, she was sitting on the board when she loaded. The key here was the distance. Look, you look at the last race, she got easy fractions, 24.50, 1:15, and barely held on at a mile. Now, it was a good track that day, and we were talking about a soft track at Kentucky Downs. So those were probably a little bit heavier surfaces in both cases. But you look at her pedigree, I mean, Blame and Warfront on the bottom, like she should be able to get a mile and 16th. But you look at what she did in Europe, where she went 7 furlongs in a mile exclusively. You look at what she's done in the U.S. It's the first time she's gone over a mile. I'm not touching this horse over a mile moving forward. I think that's really what we learned, is that mile is where the brick wall is, and don't bang your head into it. It's really that simple to me.
That's a great point. And you might have mentioned that on the show. I can't remember. The days are starting to run together. But when it's a horse who's with John Gosden, who is as talented as any trainer, including Aidan O'Brien overseas, Frankie Dettori was in the saddle 3 of those times. The fact that they never once, when she was 3, were like, hey, let's try and go beyond a mile. If they kept her to that, and you see what happened when she won a mile here, she got her butt kicked in her mile on the turf. So yeah, I guess there's gonna be a lot of red boys come what we do, but so we can look at that. That's something that we can learn moving forward. Nico's Dream, this was a case where you said, listen, if I use the 4, I've got to use the 1. They were basically simpatico for you, and that's kind of where I fell apart with this, where I had too many races that I thought if I use A, I have to use B. And there were horses that I liked. Nico's Dream I had rated 5th in this race out of the hierarchy. Or I'm sorry, 6th out of the hierarchy. So I didn't have her that high. But especially in the finale, the horse that won that, I was like, well, yeah, I considered it and I had my reasons. But we'll get there in a second. We'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence of Gulfstream Park. This is race 9, the grade 3, $100,000 Harlan's Holiday Stakes. Mike and I were very excited about the rail horse showing up here. That is Tax. Shot from the rail, took the lead, which was something that more people were surprised by than I thought. I wasn't that surprised to see him on the lead at all with Saez. He was going to be fresh. He hasn't raced since May. He looked incredible. This sets him up really well for the Pegasus World Cup, which will be a 1.125 at the end of January. I think the biggest surprise, maybe he wasn't favored. He was 10 cents or 10 cents better than Fat Man in that wagering, but this was amazing. Tax looked phenomenal in this race.
Yeah, and this is one where if you had told me that Tax was going to be ahead at the quarter pole, I would have, at the quarter mile into the race, I would have singled Tax. I didn't think Tax was going to get the lead, and I was afraid someone else would get a soft lead, specifically the 7 horse, and that's why I included the 2 of them in my pick 4. And if I had singled Tax here, I think we could have gotten this pick 4 home. And that's the one frustrating part. The price was amazing. I was shocked that we weren't looking at 6 to 5 or something like that on Tax. And I'm excited to bet against this horse come Pegasus Day. I will not be using Tax, and I can't wait to throw him out. Like this is a great example of him beating nothing and people getting way too excited about it.
Well, here was the thing. This is something we both talked about. I mean, Danny Gargan off of a layoff, first off the claim. He gets those horses, man. He gets them, and he knows how to prepare them for that. 41% off. So like, I'm with you. Like, if you were looking at this, you're like, oh, I don't know about the layoff. Are you kidding me? If you look at some of his past running lines, the Jim Dandy, the Belmont, the Travers, he's going longer, but he was close to the pace in those spots. So he's capable of doing that. We can stop talking about him because we were both very right about that. The one thing I was very right about, that I was very confident about, was that Tatweege was going to be shit. This is something that you and I kind of disagreed a little bit from the pace perspective. You thought Tatweege was going to go. I thought Tatweege was going to go with Royal Earn. We were both kind of correct. We just didn't expect Tax to be leading when the 2 of them tried to go. My thing with Tatweege is I looked at his form. It's something I learned from you is he's a $2.5 million son of Tappet out of Tismissu. There's plenty of great breeding there. Doesn't debut until he's 4. But if he was really good, why did Pletcher keep him at Gulfstream Park all summer long instead of bringing him to New York, where the purses are better, the competition's tougher? But if he's a $2.5 million horse, I would have assumed he would have been up there. And that was my big reason for playing against. Also, I didn't like that he was stuck outside. I didn't love the pace setup for him, but those were the keys there. You mentioned last race that you're not going to play the Chad Brown horse beyond a mile. Do you see that similar setup with Tatweege, or do you think that the talent level, the pace setup just compromised him a little too much?
I don't know. We'll see where he shows up next. I mean, I think that the pace setup was definitely not what we were looking for. I didn't want to be hung 3 wide in a not a speed duel, but not a situation where you're getting an easy route. Right? When I envisioned this trip, right, I looked at this field and I said 2 things. 1, Tax stands over the field, right? Period. 2, The only horse I really see improving a lot is the 7. That's the only horse that I thought could take a big step forward. That's why these are the 2 on my ticket. In this case, the 7 didn't get a great trip. The 7 didn't take that step forward. Be interested to see what price and where this horse comes back at, because I would be interested now, second off the layoff, coming back and maybe an allowance level versus a graded stakes level, or even an overnight stakes level. I think that is a better fit for this horse, especially if it draws close to the rail and there isn't a ton of speed in there. I wouldn't mind betting the horse back off this effort, which I think people might dismiss as a really poor effort.
Some people had some questions about Tax while he was gone. I listened to Danny Gargan after the race. He talked about the horse had a couple of injuries, a couple of little cough issues here and there. They were struggling, just trying to keep him healthy during the summer. And so the ownership gave Danny Gargan the ability to just give him the whole summer and fall off and prepare him. And the Pegasus was what they were pointing to. So he is going to head off to that, assuming he can hopefully stay healthy. But I'm with Mike. He's going to have that 105 buyer sitting right there on his form, proven over the course. And a lot of people are going to gleam right onto Tax, including Saratoga Slim's dad. So with the way that the Pegasus is shaping up, Tax was 9th in that race last year without Lasix, and I think that might have been part of it. I think I'm going to play, especially if they're going anti-Lasix for the Pegasus again. I'm with you. Let's play against Tax.
Yeah, the horse actually I'm interested really in the next race, next time out of this race is actually the 4 horse Eye of a Jedi. I talked about this horse a little bit on the podcast right before. This horse, I think, is the horse that is set up to run a big effort next time out. It's going to be second off the layoff late in the 5-year-old season. The horse ran well to run up for second here and loves Gulfstream Park. So if this horse comes back in one of those undercard, 7 furlong mile stakes races, I think Eye of a Jedi is going to be really dangerous at a price.
Let's move on to the feature race of the day, the Grade 2 $200,000 Fort Lauderdale Stakes is Mile 8 turf race, prepping for the Pegasus World Cup turf. Boy, this race was a gigantic mess, and I tried to give myself time off and come back and look at it again. And I'm with you. I think in hindsight, boy, you could have really gotten to the winner, Largent. I had him. He would have been the next horse in for me, which does me no good here, but I understand. What I don't understand, Mike, is you had 6 horses that were double-digit odds. They finished in the top 6. The final 4 were all the horses that were 2-1, 3-1, 5-1, 5-1. Did the bettors completely just screw the pooch on this? Well, what happened in this race? Talk to me.
This is one of those classic examples, and I'm pissed at myself for not doing this, where you should have just chucked all 3 of the speed. And that was the right thing to do. But the problem is, and this is tough to do, it's hard to chuck all the speed when the speed are the 3 best horses. And I will stick with that too. The 3 best horses in this race were Holiday, Factor This, and Some Like It Hot Brown. Holiday took one straight out of the, oh man, what's that Pletcher horse that Slim loves that was at Saratoga that
Gufo?
Yeah, no, I'll think of it
Not
later.
Gufo.
Anyway,
oh shoot, sorry.
It was God, this is terrible.
It was a Zayat horse.
Yeah, it was exactly. Yes, you know who I'm talking about, and I can't even think of the damn horse's name. But the horse just runs off no matter what distance we're at. Holiday officially is in the I'm just going to run off no matter what distance we're at. They went 21 and something for this race. Well, it was insane times that they were showing on the board. Now the times came back here different. Looking at this, it's saying 23-1, 46-1, but they were showing 21 and change, 45 and change on the actual Gulfstream in-house feed. I'm a touch more likely to believe those were the actual times based on what they ran this thing in. It was incredible how fast they were going. And you saw Factor This and Holiday both open up a good 5-6 lengths on the rest of the field. And whenever you see that, it's bad news bears. That is not going to end well for those 2 horses. And then you have Some Like It Hot Brown who's sitting right behind him. Well, you know what? He kind of needs the lead. And so do you really think Some Like It Hot Brown is going to pass them and then hold off this cavalry charge from the back? No. Delaware is the disappointing horse in this field. That's the thing. That's what I really took out of this race is the other 3 need the lead types. You're expecting them up front. Delaware decided to be a little too close early and then just got absolutely swallowed up late. Finishes last in this race. Cost me a freaking seltzer water pack to Miranda Butt. I'm not happy about this horse. But honestly, of the horses I used, Delaware is the one I would use again. I wish, looking back at this, I shouldn't have used Factor This. Some Like It Hot Brown, I didn't use. Holiday was a chuck for me. But if you look at the logical horses to pick up the pieces, it was Largent, it was Spooky Channel, it was Channel Cat, and it was Delaware. Those are the 4 I should have ended up with because those are the 4 horses that could pick up the pieces and win in a meltdown, and that's exactly what we got in this spot.
Well, let's talk about the winner, Largent. 20-1, and he's coming in. His best buyer coming in this race was a 97 over the Gulfstream Park turf. He had never gone a mile and an eighth, but he was 3 for 4 at Gulfstream on the turf, so he liked it here. He'd won 2 of his 3 starts, out of his last cycle. This was his first start since October, but they were all stakes. They were restricted stakes, and that's kind of why I was a little hesitant about him. I was like, I don't know. At this level, I'm thinking the class of Holiday, the class of Factor This, Some Like a Hot Brown. Delaware is supposed to have tails. A Chad Brown Irad horse on the turf. You would think that those are that's why I was against Largent. I was like, I just think this is too big of a step up for him. But he'd never finished outside the exact in 8 starts. Continues that. Now it's never outside the exact in 9 starts. At some point, I'm just like, well, this horse is just kind of good. And Pletcher didn't push this horse, just kept bringing him along. And off the turn, I knew he was gone. That's what pissed me off. Is off the turn, I was like, shit, Largent's going to win this. And I knew I should have had him. The only things that scared me away was the class hike, which really wasn't that big, and the distance. And those were what worried me. But didn't matter.
It's funny you say that because you didn't use Tatweege last race for the exact same reasons. It was a lightly raced 4-year-old coming off the layoff for Pletcher, expensive horse, trying the longer distance for the first time. And literally, these are the two same horses, if you think about it. I mean, Tatweege obviously had ran 4 times and not been in stakes before, but he was stepping up. And here you have Largent coming from the Pletcher barn, a $460,000 purchase into Mischief, a big-time sire, and coming off the layoff. But again, these late, I harp on this so many times in the show. First off the layoff, late 4-year-old season is a logical, massive improvement angle. And that's exactly what we saw from Largent here as he took a huge step forward off a layoff late in the 4-year-old season over a turf course he likes, like you said. So, yeah, this horse was 100% playable. And if you were able, this is one of those where if you're able to just say, I'm going to pace handicap and chuck the 3 best horses because they all have a terrible setup in this specific race, Largent's not that tough to get to.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so as far as the Pegasus World Cup turf goes, Largent, is he playable there? Do you want to see who else shows up? Usually we get a couple of Europeans that come in for this one too.
Largent is 100% playable. I mean, I'm not even. I think that this is now the problem is going to be the price, right? I mean, this is definitely one of those wedding funeral situations where you just got home and got a nice price here at 16, 17 to 1. You're going to roll it back, and what do you think you get on large it? I mean, maybe 8 to 1.
Smaller than, well, he only got a 90. He got a 97 buyer, so he still doesn't have that triple digit buyer figure. I think depending on who shows up, I think probably 5 to 1 is. I think he's going to get. I think he's going to be massively overbet off of this.
And then if he does, then I'm probably not going to be that interested in it. Maybe he's a saver, not a win bet for me. But look, you have to respect this horse over the Gulfstream turf. Now you're going to have a second off the layoff, early 5-year-old season. Again, it's another logical step forward spot for the horse. I'll be interested to see who rides this horse. To me, that's the other thing that never really jumped out at me. You had Saez and Connor and McCarthy and now Paco, who are all very good horses or jockeys, but it's not Pletcher's A team, right? And so that was the other thing where you never saw the Ortiz, you never saw the Velasquez, you never that is kind of what I was expecting from one of those top tier horses. It'll be interesting to see if Paco keeps them out. He's very good here at Gulfstream, so I wouldn't be shocked. Also be interesting to see if someone else picks it up. So I think that'll depend, but I have a feeling this is a light field compared to what you're going to see for the Pegasus. I think you're going to see a pretty good Pegasus field this year. And, we don't know how this horse responds without Lasix. I think both of those things have to be factored in when talking about what price the horse goes off at.
A couple other horses to keep in mind. I said on the show on Thursday last week that the reason I was not against Channel Cat and Spooky Channel, I said they need the WL McKnight, which is 1.5 miles, and is going to be on the Pegasus undercard. So I'm sticking with that. Spooky Channel won it last year. You're not going to get 36 to 1 on him again, but he's bred for distance. Channel Cat is bred for distance as well. So watch for those horses in that race. If they're in the Pegasus, which is 1 mile and 3/16, it's a bit shorter, bigger class. I wouldn't want to touch them there. But like I said on the show, I think that the Fort Lauderdale was just a prep for the McKnight for those two horses. So we'll see where they show up on there. Any other thoughts on those, or are we moving on?
No, let's move on.
Let's move on. Factor This needs a break. We'll move on. The fourth and final leg. Mike got this one. Aaron got this one. I had this one initially and then changed my mind and put on the horse that finished 10th. So not the best decision I had. Mira Mission wins the finale at Gulfstream Park. This was race 11. This was maiden claimers, $50,000 price on the turf course. Go to Mountain 16th. Juveniles. Mira Mission was definitely hittable. My reason for not using, I said, well, I didn't use the stablemate that Jose Ortiz was on Daisy's Dock, and Daisy's Docks was 7th. So it was right to not use that horse, but should have used Mira Mission, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I tried to talk you into it. I mean, this was my third pick on the pod. I like that New York form coming. The jockey upgrade was huge. That to me was a big step forward when you're going from a bug, even though Marquez has been pretty good up in New York, but you're going from a bug to Zayas, who's one of the higher percentage jockeys down here in Florida. I love me some Noble Mission, son of Galileo. So happy to see Noble Mission going second off the layoff. It's also just tough to debut at 1 mile and 16th on the Belmont turf when you're breaking 11 of 11. Which is in the turn on that Belmont turf. Like that, everything was kind of against the horse, who I think still ran a pretty good effort. And so coming back here and getting the 12th horse, getting it home was nice. Yeah, these races are fun, man. I mean, this was one where I used 5 horses, I think it was, and had 3 of the top 5, something like that. And so this was a good race. I like these races closing. And these are it's interesting when I go back and I look at this sequence. There's 2 ways the sequence was gettable for me. It was singling tax or going 2 or 3 deep here. And I could have gotten to the 12, 2 or 3 deep. It's not like that would have been that big of a stretch for me because I was one of the horses I really liked. So, if I had left out the Pletchers, which you ended up doing, and on a couple tickets race day, I structured without the Pletchers because of the way that you talked about it, you could finish this sequence with 8-12. And if you finished with 8-12, you were a winner. And because that really going that short in this leg was a big help if you're trying to get something home.
Yeah, a couple points that I brought. This is why I'm kicking myself, because the 12, aside from the very good points that you made on the show, the winner of that debut race that Mira Mission was in and just was drawn too far outside, Hard Love, was second in the Central Park Stakes on November 28th and got an 87 buyer for it. And that 64 buyer that Mira Mission got in the debut was the highest in this field, whether it was a debut or otherwise. So there was plenty of reason to think that there was room for improvement. What ultimately scared me away is I didn't have a speed horse, so I wanted to put the 8 on. And I thought that this horse was just drawn too far outside again with that short run up into the first turn. But Edgar Zayas knows his way around Gulfstream Park, so he gets the job done. If you were lucky enough to cash in on this pick 4 ticket or anything bigger than that, congrats. But it just sucks because we'll sit here and we'll go, we were right about these. I was right about Demon. That horse didn't run a lick. Although I was surprised, Demon didn't get claimed. So you had that super expensive Todd Pletcher Eclipse Thoroughbreds horse in for $50,000 that nobody took a shot on. So now he's probably going to go to a starter allowance. But congrats to you on this one.
Yeah, but this is one of those where like this is why I love Gulfstream Park. Yeah, sure, it was a tough sequence, right? The 50-cent pick 4 here paid $3,800. Like, this was not a $3,800 sequence in my mind. When you look at it, there's ways to get to this 12. We talked about taxes possibly being a single. We had the price in the first leg. It's just one middle leg that kind of cost you a $3,800 ticket. That's a huge price, and this is why I like Gulfstream. You don't have to be right every day. You have to be right one day, and then you're able to be profitable.
Well, and sir, you have been right one day each weekend that Gulfstream Park's been going with the Samo Bomb. So if you're trying to cash in at Gulfstream Park, listen, you're not going to hit every single sequence, especially with Mike Samo Bombs. It'd be great if you did, but you're not going to. But when you hit, you're going to hit for big enough. It happened again on Sunday, right? Yesterday, you had another nice hit at Gulfstream Park. Yeah,
we closed out the card with the pick 5. We hit the early pick 5 on the 4th, the first day of the month. And we've had Samo Bombs from Gulfstream 6 days this month and cashed something on at least 5 of those 6 days. We've been profitable on 2 of the 6, but at least gotten some money back on 5 of the 6, which, if you know my style, if we're cashing small tickets, those are the ones that end up being the big time profit because we're looking to pay for the entire month for one day, and then everything else that month is profitable. And that's kind of how we're lining up. It's been nice. We've had over $5,300 in cashes already this month. So that it's going to be a profitable December already for Samo Bombs.
Well, and also the small ones, what they kind of encourage you to do on without doing it is churn it, right? You get, all right, so we're going to, what was it? A couple weeks at Gulfstream, the paid 4 out of 5. The pick 5 hit was so big that they paid 4 out of 5 and you got a profit.
Yeah, we had a $5 pick 5, $40 ticket total, 2 singles, 3 races with 2 horses. And the 4 out of 5 return was $830 for a $40 ticket. It paid more than the pick 4 we hit to close that card, which paid $400 and something. So like, it's funny because one of I think it was the 4th on Gulfstream. We ended up cashing $1,400, and 830 of it was 4 or 5 money. I mean, that you can't like discount how important that is. I mean, even the next day we cashed 4 or 5 on the early pick 5 and got $100 back. But if you get $100 back every time you bet in a pick 5 and then you hit one, you're up huge, and that's where that really matters and can add up.
Okay, just keep churning it.
Yeah, baby.
All right, that's going to do it for the Magic Mike Show. Like we said, it'll be a quick week, but there's plenty to look forward to this week. We've got the Remington Springboard Mile is on Friday. That's a big one, especially for the fantasy leagues. Then we've got the Los Al Futurity, the Hollywood Futurity on Saturday at Los Al. So that you got to look forward to. I'm going to reveal it. Nobody's guessed it. My Breeders' Cup hat, Harvest Moon.
Hey.
It's going to fit perfectly here on my wall of horses that went to the Breeders' Cup. And that's about all they can say they did there.
Wait, did Harvest Moon run in? She ran in the...
She was in the distaff. She got 4th.
She ran pretty well, didn't she?
This is the best finishing horse I've had, whose hat I have. My gal Betty was way behind in the Juvenile Fillies turf. Lazy Daisy way behind the Juvenile Fillies. Paquita Coqueta wasn't also eligible and didn't actually run. But it was Chad Summers' horse, so that's why I have that one. So Harvest Moon finished 4th. She's a 3-year-old. She's with Simon Callahan. Coolmore co-owns her, so they have high hopes for her. She's, I don't know, I think they like the distaff division in California next year.
You have to wear it out to one of her races.
It's Fighting Mad. It's Harvest Moon. I don't know. Beyond that, I'm not really sure what it is for our distaff division. So yeah, hopefully we can, it'd be really nice to if that was like wearing that and they were like, hey, do you want to come get in the winner's circle photo? I was like, well, sure. Why not? It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's freaking Coolmore and Callahan. They're,
just rock your press pass down there with it and then see what happens. Maybe you can get a little extra love if you're standing there taking the picture with the hat on.
I'll use the press pass to get into the winner's circle to watch the race, and then when it's done, I'll pop the hat on. They'll be like, hey, come on in here. Like, sure.
I bet if you wear the hat, you could get into the picture and no one would say anything.
If it wasn't Santa Anita, I would probably try it. I love that place too much to risk doing anything to get myself kicked out of there. But
if it was post-COVID, I bet you could. Because then there's enough people. Like right now, the winners' photos are so scant that you can't. It would be obvious if the one dude who's like wearing a press pass in the hat. Like, yeah, that guy doesn't belong. That one's easy. But it's like normally it's like 20, 30 people. You could totally do it there.
I could go because Sandy did the thing. I don't know if they're gonna bring it back for this coming meet, but the winner's circle was just you could buy. It was like $200. The money went to horse racing charities, and they put a cardboard cutout of you in the winner's circle. I should do that. Like I should pay the $200 with me wearing the Harvest Moon hat and just put that in the winner's circle and just confuse the hell out of people.
I like it.
It's a great plan. Cool. Well, you see that happening at San Diego once they start on December 26th. You'll know why Magic's there wearing the hat. I don't know. Anything else? It's pretty quiet day. You know what? Michael Myers must be working right now. I guarantee you that's why the chat's so quiet.
Yeah, because not a ton to talk about. We've got 2 carryovers that I care about, or 3 carryovers, I guess, that we care about moving into next week. So there's a pick 6 carryover at Los Alamitos. We've got a pick 5 carryover at Fairgrounds and a super high 5 carryover first race. That's like 12K at Gulfstream Park. So if you want to play that, that'll be kind of a fun one because that pool will probably get $25,000-$30,000 in it, and it'll be a decent overlay.
Well, between the Fort Lauderdale, which was the second to last race on Saturday, and then nobody hit it in the finale Sunday the finale Saturday at Gulfstream, there was already a huge rollover for the super high 5 into Sunday. So I imagine that a lot of that money's still carrying over into Wednesday will be the next one.
Yeah, well, at Gulfstream, this is kind of crazy. This is why this is the only place I played, and they actually think they do this in Santa Anita too. It's every single race. So like the super high-fi rollover got hit the first race. I think it was the second race. I think on Sunday they're going to have the high 5 on Friday or on Wednesday at first race. Will carry over from Sunday, and it may get to the second race. But usually the first race is a freaking mess at Gulfstream. So it may pay the whole pool because usually you have like that 12-horse field. It's maiden claimers on the turf, things like that. So definitely worth looking at. And Fairgrounds got rid of their jackpot. That's why we're mentioning it. They got rid of the jackpot, pick 5. That's a 50-cent normal wager. And that is 27,000 carrying over to December 16th, which is going to be on Wednesday. So a couple carryovers on Wednesday to play, one on Thursday. And we'll be back on Thursday with Gulfstream again. We're going to go to Aqueduct. What are you feeling?
Let's stay at Gulfstream. One of us is doing really well there, so why leave?
I'm okay with that. I like that plan.
Let's just say, what is it Aaron likes to say? Losing tickets cost the same at Gulfstream, Losal, Aqueduct. It doesn't matter. Just tell me where to go.
Yeah, that may not be true. They may cost more at Losal because it's $1 base.
That's true. Actually, it is $1. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh, well, later this week also we'll have the preview for the Springboard Mile, the Sugar Bowl Stakes. That's a sprint at Fairgrounds. It's for juveniles, so that usually turns out a couple of good runners for the Derby Trail. So plenty of previews. We'll be back on Thursday with our Gulfstream Park Saturday late pick 4 preview show. I will say that the Racing Dudes Blinkers Off show, specifically the live stream, you're going to want to tune in this week. We had a production meeting last week, a few of us. I can talk about this because the person who is involved, or the person who this is going to be about, never listens to the show. So Aaron has got some really good surprises planned for the live stream. So if you're able, tune in live, the Racing Dudes Blinkers Off show. It'll be on Twitter when they're ready to go live. So you'll be alerted to it, but make sure you tune into that one. It's going to be you too. You're going to like it too, Mike. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'll check it out. We have to we also had on the text chain had a request for a live show for the Springboard Mile come up. So if you want to see a live Springboard Mile show and see Magic on there at 8 p.m. on Friday night in LA, hit up at @racing_dudes. Tell them you want a live show for Springboard Mile. Get us all on here.
The best part, Saratoga Slim's the one that suggests it, and before anybody else replies, he's already backed himself out of it. He's like, "Well, I can't do it, but you guys should do it."
It's like 11:30 Eastern. I can't make that. But it's a great idea. Actually, I think I think people would watch. What else are you doing on a Friday night right now?
No comment. This is still this is still a safe for work show, so I'll keep it there.
Whoa. Okay.
Well, on that note, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Keller. He is at I can't speak. At some of them 18, number 1, number 8, and you already said Corvalers at Racing_Dudes. Check out Blinkers Off on Thursday. Check out the Magic Mike Show Thursday as well. Bring your Gulfstream Saturday PPs. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week. Good luck with those carryovers. We'll see you on Thursday.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.